Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. Have you ever wondered if those incredibly cheap, ultra-fast deliveries you get, whether it's your lunch arriving in minutes or maybe even a new smartphone landing at your door in under an hour, might come at a hidden cost for everyone involved? From the local restaurant trying to make a living to the driver navigating those chaotic city streets and maybe even the giant tech companies behind it all. What happens when an entire economy seems kind of caught in this relentless cycle of price cuts? Today, we're exploring China's escalating delivery wars. It's this incredibly fierce battle among tech giants like JD.com, Meituan, and Alibaba, which operates Ele.me. They're all fighting, tooth and nail for market share in what is a staggering 1.6 trillion yuan or $223 billion annual delivery business. It's huge. And this battle, it shows up in some pretty aggressive ways. Companies slashing prices to next to nothing, expanding what they'll deliver to include things you'd never imagine instant, like electronics.
Things you wouldn't expect.
Exactly, and constantly trying to shave precious seconds off delivery times. It sounds like a pure win for consumers, right? But there's a much more complex story unfolding here.
It's true, yeah. The initial perception of this intense competition, often highlighted by observers, including The Economist, it paints a rather grim picture. It's frequently described as a race to the bottom, where companies are cutting prices so drastically that, well, on the surface, it appears everyone involved seems to be losing. From the smallest eateries to the millions of delivery drivers and even the powerful platforms themselves.
Okay, so let's peel back the layers on that initial assessment, that grim picture. What's the core claim here about this no-one wins scenario, and what's the evidence suggesting everyone's really taking a hit?
Well, the primary argument is that these price cuts are just so savage they undermine the entire ecosystem. We see real-world examples. Coffee or tea drinks selling for just 1 yuan.
1 yuan? Wow.
Yeah. Or what they call 0 yuan lunches, and even electronics going for next to nothing. This isn't just a discount. It's aggressively below typical market rates. It's really quite something. And if we look at the impact on the various stakeholders, the picture becomes clear. Take Mr. He, for instance, a businessman in Jiangsu who runs 100 noodle outlets. He's a perfect case study, really. His traditional dine-in sales, they plunged 30% since April.
30%?
Yeah. And while his delivery revenue did jump by 20%, which, sounds good on the face of it, his delivery profits actually tumbled more than 20%. As he put it, he's doing much more work for much less gain. And this sentiment, it ties into a broader Chinese phenomenon known as involution.
Ah, yes, involution.
Exactly. Which is essentially this relentless, often, meaningless competition where effort increases without a proportional reward. It's not just delivery either. 80% of industrial sectors in China are reporting negative price growth, and even car prices are caught in similar intense competition.
So while consumers are seemingly getting these incredible deals, you're saying there's a serious downside, especially concerning things like food safety.
Exactly. While the deals are tempting, there's a real concern about food safety when prices hit rock bottom. Mr. He's ominous question truly hits home. If you pay 3 yuan for pork fried rice, what do you think you'll get?
Yeah, that's worrying.
It really is. There have been past issues, like rogue kitchens operating in unsanitary conditions. When margins are razor thin, the incentive to cut corners on quality or hygiene becomes much, much stronger. And it's not just the vendors and consumers feeling the pinch. Delivery drivers, too. Despite the fact that these services have created millions of jobs, JD hiring many more drivers, Meituan alone employing over 7 million.
That's a huge number.
It is. But drivers report their income per delivery is actually falling. They have to work far longer hours to take home more pay, even with the sheer volume of orders increasing. A study from Renmin University showed drivers making an estimated, 33.6 yuan per hour before these price wars really heated up. And on top of that, traffic accidents involving delivery drivers are reportedly on the rise as they rush to meet demand. It's a high-pressure job.
And even the massive tech companies, the ones actually pushing these wars, are apparently struggling. That's almost hard to believe given their enormous scale.
It's a surprising twist, isn't it?
No.
Meituan is reportedly making just 1 yuan per delivery. Barely anything.
Just 1 yuan.
Yeah. And analysts project JD's delivery service could lose tens of billions of yuan this year. Taobao's instant purchase unit is facing similar, frankly staggering losses into the future. It's like they're spending billions on a very aggressive marketing campaign.
Right.
And their reputations are suffering too. You see netizens joking online that life under Meituan is suffering, a phrase usually reserved for describing the cruelty of the Qin dynasty. So yeah, this initial picture certainly looks like a spiral where the chase for market share is just burning through cash and goodwill.
But, the more you dig into it, it feels like there has to be more going on than just a purely destructive price war. Is that the whole story? Is it really that simple?
That's exactly where a more nuanced view comes into focus. And it's important. While that no one wins narrative captures genuine pain points, absolutely, we connect this to the broader economic picture and look at recent data, a different story starts to emerge. For instance, while individual profit margins might shrink for small vendors, food service outlets are actually reporting volume jumps of 15–25% through delivery channels during the price war.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this has surprisingly helped soften the blow from the weak foot traffic they've been experiencing. So, in a way, delivery is providing a kind of lifeline. And looking longer term, the ultra-fast fulfillment infrastructure, things like dark stores, AI-powered dispatch systems, shared central kitchens, these things will remain even after the subsidies inevitably fade. This isn't just spending. It's arguably an investment in infrastructure that could significantly raise long-run productivity for the whole economy.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. It's like a massive investment in logistics infrastructure that will just stick around. But what about the drivers? You mentioned their income per delivery is falling. Yet we've also seen Matron report that their average income actually went up. How do we square those two seemingly contradictory facts?
Yeah, it's a crucial distinction, and the data is quite illuminating here. Meituan's own data shows weekend rider day income up 111% in July. That's a huge jump.
111%.
Yes, with over 400,000 crowdsourced riders earning more than $500 per day. So it's not really a contradiction. What seems to be happening is that while the pay per drop might be lower, the overall pay for high-frequency riders is rising. This is because of things like surge pricing and platform bonuses. Essentially, there are just so many more orders available, fueled by these price wars. So those riders who are willing to work longer hours and handle higher volumes can actually see their absolute income increase quite significantly. And on the consumer safety front, while those concerns about rogue kitchens are valid, regulatory technology is actually catching up quite quickly. The State Administration for Market Regulation, or SAMR, China's market watchdog, issued guidance back in July demanding traceable digital invoices and automated ingredient source checks.
Okay, so some real oversight is coming in.
Exactly. And major platforms have already integrated real-time kitchen camera feeds for high-risk products. That adds a significant layer of transparency and hopefully safety.
So it's maybe not a complete free-for-all for consumers then. And for the platforms themselves, these tech giants, are they really loss-making? Or is there maybe another way to interpret their balance sheets in this specific context?
That's a great question. It's probably more accurate to see this as a cash-buffered investment phase. Think about it. Alibaba, JD, and Meituan ended 2024 with substantial cash reserves. We're talking between 18% and 34% of their total assets.
That's a lot of cash.
A huge cushion. This gives them immense financial muscle to chase market share before they start monetizing higher margin categories like electronics, healthcare, other services down the line. Analysts estimate around $200 billion in promised coupons across the three main platforms, but this is underpinned by their combined cash reserves of over $650 billion.
Wow.
They clearly have the financial muscle to sustain this battle for quite some time.
This really complicates the initial everyone loses picture, doesn't it? Okay, so beyond these market dynamics, what about the government's role in all this? What's Beijing's stance? Are they trying to just shut these price wars down completely?
That's a pivotal question, absolutely. And Beijing's approach is actually quite measured, maybe more than you'd initially expect. They aren't simply banning these price wars outright, and there seem to be several strategic reasons for this. First, employment. These instant commerce fleets currently absorb over 10 million workers, mostly young migrant workers.
10 million.
Yeah. Abrupt bans would significantly increase job market slack, especially as manufacturing jobs continue to disappear. Urban youth unemployment, for example, was around 14.5% back in June, so these jobs provide a crucial employment cushion. Second, there's the balance between consumer welfare and the risk of deflation. These low prices, they actually prop up real household purchasing power. That helps offset the drag from, say, property income losses, which have been a concern. The draft law they're working on seems to specifically target predatory pricing, like selling below cost with intent to harm competition, not necessarily legitimate promotions. So they're trying to preserve space to sustain consumption.
Okay, a fine line.
A very fine line. And finally, Beijing seems to be aiming for an orderly exit for the less efficient players, rather than a blanket prohibition. By evaluating algorithmic prices against cost benchmarks, regulators can kind of allow inefficient players to withdraw gracefully while keeping the vital logistics network, which is now a national asset, really intact.
That's a fascinating look at the government strategic balancing act there. So what specific steps has Beijing actually taken since maybe the initial reporting on this came out? Have things changed recently?
Oh, yes. A lot has transpired very quickly, especially this year. On July 24th, 2025, the National Development and Reform Commission, the NDRC, China's central planning agency, released a draft pricing law amendment. This specifically outlaws algorithm-driven below-cost sales and significantly raises penalties, like tenfold.
Tenfold. Wow, that's a strong signal.
A very strong signal. Then just a few days later, July 30th, the Politburo, China's top decision-making body, put curbing disorderly competition squarely on its macro agenda for the second half of 2025. That's a directive from the very top.
Right.
And swiftly following that, on August 1st, Alibaba, Meituan, and JD.com jointly vowed rational competition. After being summoned by the market regulator, Samnow State Media immediately framed this pact as a significant anti-involution milestone. And you're seeing People's Daily editorials now explicitly framing involution as an efficiency drain that needs to be rectified for China's own remarks.
Those are pretty significant and very recent developments then. So if we're looking ahead, trying to figure out where this is going, what indicators should we, or you, the listener, be watching to see how this situation evolves from here?
Yeah, there are a few key things to keep an eye on. First, that pricing law amendment. Watch for the publication of its final text, probably in People's Daily. It's likely to be passed by the National People's Congress Standing Committee. That's the top legislative body, maybe by Q1 2026. And expect maybe a 6-month grace period before enforcement really kicks in.
Second, platform self-governance. Look for the actual implementation of things like the 30-day advance notice for merchant fee changes and these public fair competition dashboards they've promised. Quarterly reports on how delivery fees are split between platforms and drivers will be really crucial there.
Transparency.
Exactly. And finally, these anti-involution benchmarks. Watch for the NDRC and SAMR to release sector-specific cost floor guides. They'll likely pilot it in food delivery first and then maybe extend it to ride-hailing and other instant services. So bringing this all together then, it seems the initial narrative of everyone loses, while capturing some real pain points, it perhaps overstates the inevitability of just a straight race to the bottom. It's more complex.
That seems right, yes. Recent developments in 2025 really demonstrate Beijing's kind of dual strategy, pairing market-led experimentation. That's the subsidy-fueled instant retail we've seen with robust rule of law guardrails, things like the pricing law overhaul and that regulator-brokered truce. And the early evidence like rising rider pay, merchants' volume gains despite margin pressure, and this whole public narrative now celebrating anti-involution, it suggests the sector is moving perhaps slowly toward a healthier equilibrium. It looks like the quick commerce innovations are expected to survive, maybe even thrive, while the truly destructive pricing tactics are hopefully beginning to fade.
This whole situation really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Thinking about our own economies. Where do we draw the line? The line between healthy competition that genuinely benefits consumers and this idea of involution, that relentless, maybe meaningless competition that eventually seems to harm everyone in the ecosystem. What are the true, sometimes hidden, costs of all this convenience? And how do we really strike that balance between encouraging innovation and ensuring fair market practices for everyone involved? Something to think about.